After tackling Gas and Megidramon, the next one I wanted to explore post-restriction is going to be Royal Knights. Royal Knights saw one singular hit with the newest restriction list in the form of Royal Knights of the Purge, but does the option card going to 1 do a whole lot? As usual, this video will look at the restrictions that affect the deck, along with the possible substitutions before diving into combos, and what the deck ultimately has evolved into now. Royal Knights is one of the biggest meta contenders that I honestly feel like the restriction list did next to nothing to. And because of this, while Megidramon was fast and could take security by turn 2 or 3 at times pre-restriction, Royal Knights immediately puts you on a 4 to 5 turn clock. And with BT22 Cyber Eden, this deck did get some new toys to play with. However, beginning with the one restriction, Royal Knights of the Purge is a 6-cost white option card that main draws you a card. Then you may place one Digimon card from your hand as the bottom Digivolution card of your yggdrasil in the breeding area. Then this card goes into the battle area. Keep in mind, this could be any Digimon, whether it be Royal Knight, omekamon, or literally anything else. But the delay for this option allows you to play one Royal Knight trade card from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying cost. The only downside, the on-play effects don't activate, but the Digimon gets Rush. This card was extremely useful in cases where you might have tucked one too many alphamon or Yukin or Justmon GX Digimon into the sources. Because remember, when BT13 Omnimon is played, you can choose to play one of each Digimon with the Royal Knight trait and different names from the Digivolution cards of the Digimon in your breeding area. As a result, the Digimon in the breeding area along with all the remaining sources is trashed, and all your Digimon gain Rush for the turn. If you ever have multiple Royal Knight trait Digimon that are ace variants, you can only play one copy, and the duplicate still under yggdrasil would be trashed, resulting in overflow. Because of Royal Knights of the Purge, you could play out the duplicate before using Omnimon, but now it's a lot harder. In addition, this card could accelerate your win condition. Remember, because this is an option card with the Royal Knight trait, Yggdrasil's inheritable in the breeding area would only make this card cost 3 with all sources used in play. And because you could play this and a Royal Knight, this meant that you could be potentially setting up 2 sources to get tucked under the next turn. The importance of source tucking is because Yggdrasil reduces the play cost of your Royal Knight trait Digimon when they are played by 4, and further reduces it by 1 for each of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. Meaning with just the Yggdrasils, you're reducing your Royal Knight trait Digimon by 7 memory. This further increases as more and more Royal Knight trait Digimon go under, meaning for Omnimon to go off, you would need at minimum 9 sources under it for a total cost of 1 memory. Now with BT22, this offers a few new Royal Knight variants, but honestly, there are only 2 that are worthwhile. While the newest Omnimon does have an on-play effect, honestly meh. It doesn't do anything other than delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP, and you just have better options to do that. Kentorosmon lets you place a yellow card from your hand as the top security. But considering there aren't a lot of yellow cards you want triggered in security, Kentorosmon also isn't a great card to use for Royal Knights. Alphamon is a decent blocker, but one of my problems with this Digimon is its limited DP reduction, and you already run Oryukin who can guarantee deletion. However, of the remaining Royal Knights, Lordknightmon could be used for the fact that combined with Rush, it could be a big attacker, and its effects could filter more cards to the trash, before playing a play cost 4 or lower black-red card, of which it could be a Floodgate or a Floodgate remover. But the real value comes in the form of Ulforce Vidramon Ace, who can spin back your opponent's lowest level Digimon to the bottom of the deck, typically being a Floodgate. And because it is an ace Digimon, it's also much cheaper to play. The last Royal Knight option from the set being Leopardmon Ace, because this Digimon could provide a defensive option and also potentially excel your plays by playing a Digimon like omekamon, or covering your bases by playing a Floodgate or the Floodgate Killer. But outside of Royal Knights, because Royal Knights of the Purge has been restricted, the BT13 omekamon isn't a bad option, considering it can be replaced on the field again with effects like Lordknightmon or Leopardmon Ace. Because when this Digimon is deleted, you get to place a Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait in the sources of yggdrasil in the breeding area. And considering Leopardmon Ace could give it blocker, that's also some extra defense here. Predominantly, the combo of this deck is to build as many sources to yggdrasil as possible before slamming Omnimon down to play everything out. Turn 1 you'll flip yggdrasil, then immediately be able to reveal the top card of the Digi-Egg stack, and place it in all Royal Knight trait Digimon as this Digimon's bottom Digivolution card, which means effectively any of your Royal Knights will be reduced by 5 memory, 4 from yggdrasil's main effect, and then 1 additional memory for each source under it, which at this point is just 1. Ideally, your opening move is to play a Magnamon or a Digimon like Leopardmon Ace to play out, say, omekamon. Turn 2, assuming all your Digimon are still in play. the Royal Knight trait Digimon get tucked into the sources, so even if you're at 1 memory, your next reduction will be 7, making your level 6 aces free. Turn 3, this could escalate to 9, and then turn 4, you won't have any more yggdrasils to tuck, so you'll be purely on Royal Knights at this point. Ideally, you'd like to have 9 sources under Yggdrasil, because at that point you'd slam down BG13 Omnimon to reduce the play cost by 13, and then play out one of each Royal Knight trait Digimon under Yggdrasil before trashing it to finish the game. The thing is, if your opponent has floodgates, like Psychmon, this is where things can become very problematic. So generally, what does the deck profile look like? Royal Knight decks have largely been solved with its ratios and choices for what you're going to do. With BT22, we add a little bit of flexibility with certain Digimon, and now with the restriction of an option card, this does add more spots for Royal Knight trait Digimon and other Digimon that are non-Royal trait. So of course you're going to 100% run the Yggdrasils as the main egg, because this helps facilitate your win condition. I have seen some players get really greedy with adding Mother D Reaper as another egg, simply because they want to add another source. But if you flip this egg first, you're now behind 2 turns for your win condition. But if you want to be greedy, by all means do it. Level 3s, I've opened up my flex spots to be Digimon related, because of Digimon like lordknightmon and leopardmon Ace. You can use these to recur them as needed, or even play an extra body to further accelerate your state. To that end though, you can use floodgates like Gotsumon to prevent Digimon from being played. This targets a lot of other decks, especially if you're up against Royal Knights, a Battlemon, some elements of Megidramon, Adventure, and even other rogue decks. However, Solarmon is another viable option, though this primarily hits Royal Knights and a Battlemon. You could also use Shamanmon for floodgating memory, because this will be huge with the lack of a deterrent in the meta. And then of course, 2 Goblimons for deleting floodgates. For level 4s, you can max out on the BT20 omekamons, since it can slot itself on deletion under Yggdrasil, and of course you're running the standard 4 Magdamons. These can draw you a card when they would leave play, which also feels Yggdrasil in your hand. For what I've been testing, I ended up using 2 BT13 omekamons for their on-play effects that draw, and their on-deletion that slots a Royal Knight. While not an exact substitute for Purge, this does give you some ability to load up more under Yggdrasil. And with cards again like leopardmon Ace or lordknightmon who can bring out an extra body or recur them, it's even better. No level 5s for this deck, since no Royal Knights are in that level category. But for your 6s, of course you're on 2 Gankumons to potentially play back out a card to continue controlling the board, though the downside is this can't play Omnimon or another Gankumon. You have Gallantmons working in tandem with each other, one that is big and has Rush, while the other pops a 13,000 DP Digimon, and if you didn't, you recover 1. 3 Jesmons for token generation and also spot removal, with 1 copy of Ulforce Ace for some additional bounce removal. Because Medieval Gallantmon is not a Royal Knight trait Digimon, I'm only on 2 of these, and these can also help slow the game down a little bit. Then there's 2 Leopardmon Aces, and 2 lordknightmons for the wider board building. Dynasmon helps with filtering for more Royal Knights while also setting up your trash, with your level 7s ultimately acting as an endgame finisher or interaction on your opponent's turn. Jesmon GX and Gallantmon Crimson Mode Ace are examples of interaction that can protect you. But do keep in mind that Crimson Mode Ace is not a Royal Knight trait, and is only a Holy Warrior. Omnimon X is a guaranteed 2-check if you can keep turn, but because it is so expensive, it's more so a drop chip damage that also doubles as a blocker. Alphamon or Yukon is another efficient means of spot removal, with 3 Omnimons for your true endgame finish. You might tinker with these ratios or ultimately choose to drop certain members in favor of others. Option-wise, 1 Royal Knights of the Purge because it's limited, and 4 copies of Last Guardian. This option card also keeps your Omnimon or Omnimon X's in play, which means you can raid on future turns to clear bodies and then end of turn attack. With of course your Tamers as Cool Boy for the draw and memory gain when you play a Royal Knight trait Digimon, as well as serving as a means to play omekamon. Overall, Royal Knights is going to be one of the biggest meta contenders in my mind for Bandai Card Games Fest. It has some great protection for Omnimon, and also adds a lot of flexibility for where the deck can go. But ultimately, will you be adding more Royal Knight members and exclude the floodgates, or do you think the floodgates is the play? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you next week on some new content. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.